Hello, beautiful sacred souls. In this series, we've been exploring the concept of vibration, and today we're going to explore specifically the vibration of the divine feminine energy and how this relates to your nervous system. This is a script that I have written, but I hope you'll stay tuned. It is important information. So my name is Allison Batty-Capps, author of The Divine Within, Healing Ourselves to Heal the World, and owner of Blossoming Heart Wellness. Today we are exploring the divine feminine, not as gender, but as a spiritual principle. This energy is deeply connected to our nervous system regulation, our emotional intelligence, and our capacity to receive, flow, and most importantly, embody presence. Many spiritual traditions speak of the divine feminine, yet society often suppresses it. By reclaiming this energy, we can heal ourselves, raise our vibration, and even become cycle breakers in families and communities. So my channel explores healing, trauma recovery, spirituality, and consciousness through a trauma-informed, psychologically grounded lens. What I share comes from my lived experience, my education, my healing journey, and my understanding of neuroscience, trauma, and yes, spiritual integration. Nothing here is meant to be seen as absolute truth or dogma. It is meant to share my perspective and open up a dialogue. It is also not meant to diagnose, replace therapy, medical care, or your own discernment. Instead, I invite you to take what resonates and leave what doesn't. You are always the authority of your own experience. You may hear me use spiritual language, symbolic imagery, or speak about mystical experiences. Spiritual experiences can be meaningful and real, and they must be held with grounding, discernment, and nervous system safety. If anything you hear activates fear, urgency, grandiosity, or distress, that is a sign to pause, ground, and seek support, not to push through. In my experience, that is something in the psyche or the unconscious coming to the surface to be witnessed, healed, and integrated. So my intention is not to awaken, to save, or to heal anyone. Instead, I want to share what has helped me reconnect with my own body, my agency, my sovereignty, my humanity, and my inner divinity, so you can decide for yourself what supports your own path. That said, something I say may support your awakening or your healing journey. So let's begin. So the feminine energy is actually the regulator of our nervous system. So what does that mean? Well, the divine feminine is actually embodied in our presence, our intuition, our emotions, our flow, our ability to receive, and true embodiment of our divinity inside our humanity. These are not soft or weak qualities. They take courage and bravery, and they are central to nervous system regulation. When we are in touch with the feminine energy, we notice subtle signals in our body, which allows us to respond instead of react. It is what helps us slow down and pay attention to what those body symbols are communicating. We're able to feel our emotions fully and safely, witnessing them, understanding what they're communicating, so that we can process them rather than suppress them, and so that we can use them to determine what needs or boundaries have been violated and how we need to express that in the external world. It enables us to flow with life's challenges instead of resisting it. And this is what creates resilience. So an example of this is a person who consciously listens to their intuition and their feelings and their body before responding to a difficult family dynamic. This is using the feminine energy to regulate the nervous system, to pay attention to what needs or boundaries have been violated that is leading the emotions to arise, which helps us to prevent reactive patterns like anger or avoidance from being pushed onto the other or future generations. Instead, it enables us to say, this is what I'm experiencing and this is what I need. So trauma-informed perspective. Suppression of the feminine energy often results in hypervigilance, hypercontrol, and dissociation. Response is mistaken for personality traits. By integrating the feminine, we allow the nervous system to settle into a state of presence and safety. This helps raise our vibration and create space for healing. So why has society taught us to suppress the feminine energy within ourselves? Well, systems of power have historically suppressed emotional intelligence, softness, and receptivity because these qualities awaken individuals and collective sovereignty. This enables individuals to not be taken advantage of or manipulated. So by teaching us to suppress the feminine energy within ourselves, societies, governments, religions are keeping people disconnected from their full humanity and their divine potential. This perpetrates rigid hierarchies where control and fear dominates. This keeps people in power. An example of this is in professional or political environments where emotional intelligence or compassion are seen as somehow weak or irrational, and people that are wanting to share those perspectives are discouraged from embodying those feminine principles. So this suppression is not accidental. If you read about history and how it formed, you will see that this is a structural thing that has been embedded in societies by those in power. It limits collective empathy, creativity, and conscious leadership. It also disconnects men and women alike from their inner wholeness. This makes it harder for us to break cycles of trauma and to shift systems of inequalities. When you reclaim the divine feminine inside yourself, it is not only a personal act. It's a social and spiritual revolution. So how does healing the feminine heal the vibration? Well, when we are allowed to feel our emotions fully and be aware of what's happening in our body and witness it and care for it, the nervous system naturally softens. This enables us to receive and rest, and that is when healing and integration takes place. This is what helps our vibration naturally rise. This is very different from high vibe only teachings that ignore the shadow and discomfort. Usually those teachings teach you to just ignore the ego and to push through and transcend the human experience. But that doesn't heal the nervous system. That keeps you in a nervous system that is hyper alert, and that actually keeps your vibration low. By learning to be with your system and to witness it, you actually are teaching yourself how to heal your nervous system, which naturally raises your vibration. Cycle breakers are those who interrupt generational trauma. Often they have to consciously engage the feminine within themselves in order to navigate conflict without replicating old patterns. An example of this might look like someone who was raised in a family that used criticism. Rather than engaging in criticizing others, they instead choose to be curious about the other's perspective, gently listening, embodying presence and receptivity to understand them rather than reacting from fear or shame. This not only heals the nervous system within them, but it helps the nervous system of the other person settle so that they too can embody presence. This is what helps to create intergenerational resonance of safety and regulation. What are practices that cultivate feminine energy? Well, body-based awareness, such as noticing sensations that are happening in the body, noticing tension in the chest, or tightness in the belly, or pain in the hips, or shoulders that raise. And when you notice those things, it's actively working to heal them and shift them through flow practices, such as movement, yoga, dance, or conscious breathing. Rather than ignoring and pushing through the sensations, it's helping the sensation shift. When we're experiencing those discomforts in our body, it is a sign that our nervous system is hyper alert and we need to actually pause and regulate ourselves. This enables heart-centered reception. This enables us to consciously allow care, support, and pleasure to enter without resistance. This is what helps us shift doing all the time into being able to be with ourselves and rest. This is very difficult in our society because we are taught to just push through, to ignore our sensations, our emotions, and just keep doing. Let's explore a practical, heart-based receiving breath practice. I invite you to place your hand over your heart. I invite you to inhale gently, imagining the breath nourishing your heart space. I invite you to exhale fully, inviting the body to release tension and old patterns of contraction. Do not force this, just invite it. And then I invite you to whisper softly to yourself, I am allowed to receive. I invite you to continue this breath practice, repeating several times, I am allowed to receive. This informs your nervous system that it is safe, that you are present with it, and that you are open to slowing down. This signals to your nervous system it is safe to release what you've been holding. I invite you to notice how your body is responding. I invite you to notice any small shifts in vibration. I invite you to notice any areas that feel like they're softening or relaxing. I invite you to notice what clarity arises. The more time you make space for practices like this, the more you are signaling to your nervous system that you will take care of it, that it is safe to soften, heal, and break patterns of hypervigilance or collapse. Today we explored how the divine feminine is a spiritual principle connected to the nervous system's ability to regulate. We explored why social and cultural systems have suppressed feminine energy. We explored how healing the feminine energy within raises the vibration naturally and supports cycle-breaking work, not only within families, communities, but society as a whole. And you explored a practice that was a heart-receiving exercise that helped you embody presence, flow, and receptivity. Thank you for showing up and giving yourself permission to feel, receive, and integrate. This is what healing looks like. In our next video, we'll discuss how religions have weaponized shame and how this relates to vibration and healing. So mystical experiences, symbolic dreams, and spiritual insights are deeply personal. They are best understood slowly, with grounding, and often with professional or community support. True spiritual growth does not disconnect us from reality. It helps us inhabit it more fully. I do not offer private spiritual guidance, diagnoses, or personal interpretations through comments or messages. I also do not engage in personal relationships through social media or email. If you're navigating intense emotional or psychological experiences, I invite you to seek trauma-informed professional care or trusted support. And if you have ever felt stuck in patterns that you seem to not be able to break free from, I invite you to go deeper with my book, The Divine Within: Healing Ourselves to Heal the World. It is for anyone ready to explore how inner healing transforms not just your life, but the world around you. It's full of practical tools and insights to help you notice and release old trauma patterns, strengthen your nervous system, and connect you with your inner wisdom. I also have an online course based on my book, The Divine Within, that goes even more in depth. It may also support your healing journey. And I offer mentorship through my website, blossomingheartwellness.com. Sending you all deep love and appreciation for who you are and where you are on your journey of healing.